Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to explore with you the truth about orgasm beyond the cinematic script. In this session, we'll uncover what really happens in our bodies and brains, going beyond the Hollywood and adult film portrayals. We'll look at how media shapes our perceptions and what the science actually tells us about orgasm. So, let's dive in and discover the real story together. Orgasms in real life are actually really different from person to person and even from one occasion to another. They can look different, sound different, and feel different depending on the individual. It's important to understand that if your experience doesn't match what you see in films or media, that's completely normal. You're not doing it wrong at all. Instead, it's just a reflection of how your nervous system is wired. With a bit of attention and practice, you can actually expand the range of pleasure you experience. So, the key takeaway here is that there's no single right way to have an orgasm. Your unique wiring shapes your experience, and that's perfectly okay. This understanding ties into the overall theme that embracing your individual response can lead to a more fulfilling and pleasurable experience. Let's take a closer look at understanding and expanding our orgasmic experience. First, I'll clarify what an orgasm actually is. It's not just a simple sensation, but a complex interplay of physical and psychological factors. We'll explore the basic brain mechanisms involved, which help us understand how pleasure is processed and experienced. Sometimes, orgasms don't happen even when we want them to, and I'll explain some common psychological reasons behind that, such as stress, distraction, or emotional barriers. Finally, I'll guide you through a practical, step-by-step exercise that's safe for any gender, aimed at expanding and intensifying your orgasmic experience. This isn't just theory. These tools can help you deepen your connection with your body and enhance your overall pleasure. Connecting this to the bigger picture, understanding these fundamentals empowers us to take control of our sexual well-being and enjoy more fulfilling, richer experiences. So let's talk about what an orgasm actually is from a practical perspective. Here's a simple, useful working definition. An orgasm is the spontaneous, involuntary release of neuromuscular tension that's generated in response to sex-related stimuli. Now, what does that mean? First, it's important to understand that orgasm is primarily a brain event. You need your brain to have an orgasm. Your genitals may or may not be directly involved in the process. It's not just about physical stimulation. Your mind plays a central role here. Next, it's involuntary. The core of an orgasm is a release that your nervous system triggers automatically. You can't really force or will yourself into an orgasm just through sheer effort. It's something that happens naturally when the conditions are right. And finally, the most important point to remember is that the only valid way to determine if an experience was truly an orgasm is whether you wanted it and enjoyed it. If you wanted the experience and liked it, then you can confidently label it an orgasm, regardless of how it was produced. This understanding helps us see orgasm not just as a physical event, but as a complex interplay of mind and body, which ties back into the overall theme of understanding sexuality in a more holistic way. All right, let's dive into the neurobiology of orgasm in plain language. Two key neuroscientific facts really help us understand what's happening in the brain during this experience. First, there's the idea of loss of self-monitoring. Under certain measurements, we see that during orgasm, activity in the prefrontal cortex decreases. This is the area that's responsible for tracking our self-image, social rules, and constantly evaluating how we're doing. When this area quiets down, it explains why many people feel a sense of release, of letting go, or simply losing self-consciousness. It's like the brain steps back, allowing us to fully experience the moment without judgment. The second key point is whole brain activation. Other studies show that during orgasm, there's widespread activation across sensory, emotional, and motor regions of the brain. It's really a whole body event, involving not just the brain but hormonal and autonomic systems as well. Think of hormones like oxytocin, which promotes bonding, or prolactin, which comes into play later and relates to relaxation and refractory periods. These systems help modulate the emotional and physical responses, creating a complex, coordinated state. So the main takeaway here is that orgasm isn't just a simple reflex confined to the genitals. It's a sophisticated brain-body state, shaped by the context, the meaning we assign, and neurophysiological processes. It's really about the integration of mind and body working together in a powerful, holistic experience. Let's talk about why orgasms sometimes don't happen, focusing on the psychology behind it. There are two common patterns that tend to interfere with reaching orgasm. The first one is called spectatoring. This is when you find yourself watching yourself during sex, monitoring your face, your noises, wondering if you're doing it right. When you do this, you're engaging your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for judgment and evaluation. This keeps the brakes on your body's natural responses. Instead of being fully immersed in the sensations, you're stuck in an evaluative mindset. And that evaluation actually inhibits the involuntary release that is orgasm. So, instead of surrendering to pleasure, you're overthinking, which blocks the experience. The second pattern is what research calls the little monitor, or goal friction. Think of this as an internal feedback system that watches how much effort you're putting in versus how close you are to reaching your goal, orgasm. When the goal feels unattainable, this monitor shifts from thinking the goal is within reach to seeing it as impossible. That shift can lead from frustration to despair, which makes it even harder to relax and enjoy. Ironically, trying harder to reach orgasm often makes it worse because it increases pressure and self-monitoring. Finally, the context really matters. If an orgasm happens during unwanted sex, it can feel like a betrayal, like the pleasurable sensations are wrong or shameful. But in a safe, sex-positive environment, orgasm is generally experienced as deeply pleasurable and integrated into the experience. So, understanding these psychological patterns helps us see how our mindset and environment influence our ability to achieve orgasm. Let's talk about a practical exercise designed to help you expand your experience of orgasm through edging with a focus on sensation. This practice is all about training your nervous system to handle and sustain high levels of arousal without the need to push harder or force anything. Essentially, it combines mindful edging with body awareness, creating a gentle, intentional cycle of arousal and relaxation. The session typically lasts between 45 and 90 minutes and can be done solo or with a consenting partner. The key idea here is to intentionally cycle your arousal up and down, practicing how to soften the body at the edge of climax. The goal is for your nervous system to learn that intense arousal can be safe, controllable, and deeply pleasurable, even if you don't reach orgasm every time. So, how do you do this? First, set your container. Choose a private space, a dedicated time, and minimize interruptions. Commit to a practice that's not goal-oriented, just focus on experiencing pleasure and sensations without pressure. Next, warm up gradually. Bring your attention to your whole body, spend about 5 minutes doing slow breathing, and scan for tension. If you're with a partner, agree on safe signals so you can communicate comfortably. Then define your arousal scale from 0 to 10, 0 being no arousal, 10 being full orgasm. Throughout the practice, you'll move up and down this scale. Let's walk through the cycles. In the first cycle, gently stimulate until you reach around a 5, which is a pleasant middle level. Notice what sensations come up. Then, stop stimulation and allow your arousal to fall back to a 1 or 2. Don't judge that drop, just observe it. In the second cycle, build your arousal to about a 6 or 7, noticing how that feels different from 5. Then, let it fall again to 2 or 3. This back and forth helps your system get used to shifting arousal levels. The third cycle is where the edging really happens. Build your arousal close to an 8 or 9, approaching orgasm, but then deliberately soften. Relax your muscles, slow your breathing, to bring arousal back down to 6 or 7. Repeat this process, each time getting slightly closer to the edge, while maintaining full body softness when you step back down. When you're on the brink, aim to oscillate between high arousal, around 9 or 9.5, and slightly lower levels, 7 or 8, without crossing the threshold into orgasm. Focus on your breath, relax every muscle from your core outward. Remember, if you happen to orgasm during this, that's not a failure. It's valuable data about your response. After several cycles, cool down with 5 to 10 minutes of gentle sensation focus, slow touch, breath awareness to integrate your experience. A few notes: avoid the urge to make it happen. That's counterproductive. Instead, notice sensations and soften into them. If distracting thoughts arise, briefly name them, thinking about work, and gently return your focus to your body sensations. You can also experiment with different stimulations: touch, breath, movement, even imagination, to see what heightens arousal for you. If you're practicing with a partner, one person can stimulate while the other reports numbers and cues relaxation. Clear communication about consent and boundaries is essential here. Remember, this exercise isn't about reaching orgasm every time, but about expanding your capacity for control, pleasure, and sensation awareness. Let's explore some practical, evidence-based tips that can really make a difference quickly. First, take orgasm off the scoreboard. Instead of making orgasm the main goal, focus on pleasure itself. This shift helps lower the little monitor's vigilance, reducing pressure and anxiety. Next, practicing breath-based relaxation is incredibly helpful. Gentle, slow breathing signals safety to our nervous system, helping us stay calm and present. Training body awareness through sensate focus is another useful strategy. Spend time exploring touch and sensation without any goal other than experiencing the moment. Reducing spectatoring is also key. Using an anchoring technique, like feeling the breath in your belly, can help pull your attention back into your body when your mind starts to wander or judge. Trying out variety in stimulation can unlock new pathways to pleasure. Some people discover orgasms through unusual sensations. Think ears, feet, breath, or even imagination, so be curious and playful. Communication with your partner is vital. Let them know how you like to be touched, and don't hesitate to ask for pauses when you're approaching your edge. Clear communication reduces pressure and enhances connection. Physical health also plays a big role. Factors like sleep, alcohol, medications, and chronic stress can influence arousal. Addressing these with a healthcare professional can make a real difference. Focusing on pelvic relaxation is another helpful tip. Working on releasing tension in the pelvic and perineal muscles during arousal, rather than tensing up, can improve your experience. Practicing mindfulness regularly, outside of sexual activity, can reduce judgment and increase your tolerance for sensation, making intimacy more enjoyable. And finally, if you experience persistent distress, or if orgasm is linked to past trauma, seeking a sex-positive, trauma-informed therapist can provide the support and guidance you need. All of these tips connect back to the overall goal: creating a healthier, more relaxed, and more pleasurable experience of intimacy. So let's talk about when it's important to seek professional help. If you find that not being able to orgasm is causing you persistent sadness or shame, or if it's creating problems in your relationships, that's a sign you might need some support. Also, if orgasms only happen during non-consensual situations, that's definitely something to address with a professional. And of course, if there's a medical issue involved, like side effects from medication, hormonal imbalances, or neurological or structural concerns, that's another reason to seek help. In these cases, I recommend consulting a qualified sex therapist, ideally someone who is certified and trauma-informed, because they can provide the right guidance and support. Additionally, seeing a medical professional is crucial to check for underlying physiological factors, such as medication effects or hormonal issues. Remember, reaching out for help is a positive step toward understanding and improving your sexual health and overall well-being. And that brings us to the final word. Remember, orgasm isn't just a mechanical endpoint or a fixed destination. It's really more of a brain-body state, something that's shaped by factors like safety, context, attention, and how our nervous system has learned to respond over time. What we see in mainstream media, the cinematic, scripted orgasm, is just a tiny slice of what's possible for humans. If your orgasms don't match that script, it doesn't mean you're broken. You're human, and that's perfectly okay. With curiosity, patience, and some mindful practices, like the edging or sensation protocols we discussed, most people can expand their experience of pleasure. This can lead to feeling more connected, more present, and ultimately more satisfied with your sexual life. And if you're interested, I can help turn this into a printable guide, a short reading script for practice, or a partner-friendly checklist. Just let me know what format works best for you, and I'll prepare it.